Well, hi there.
We must be live.
So they tell us, or a reasonable facsimile thereof.
Hello.
Hello, I think we have a bit of a lag between us, but that's okay. That's part of the fun of it all, figuring out how all this works as we go along.
From our remote locations.
Right.
You must be Barry Lambert, and I must be David Gans, and we're doing this thing that we call Dead Air. With all due respect to the other radio shows around the country that call themselves Dead Air, we borrowed it for this touring season of Dead and Company. And we're here to introduce the live stream on nugs.net, and also to all of you who are watching this free preview on YouTube or wherever. You can sign up and buy the show and hear it live and or on demand later. And they're also offering subscriptions to nugs.net, which gives you access to the entire library of all Dead and Company shows going back to 2016.
That's right. And of course, we've already covered 2 shows on this tour, and boy, they've been swell. And we're looking forward to more of the same tonight, maybe even more so because there's something about New York City that tends to bring out the best in these boys, as has long been the case with the Grateful Dead and its descendants.
Yeah, the energy level is much higher back there. It's true. I remember Phil Lesh once told me that the band, that the New York energy, the band can only be as quiet as the crowd will let them be, and that New York audiences were always very demanding of high energy, and the occasion to which they rose frequently and unanimously.
Yes, indeed. And yet I have been at stadium shows in the New York area, Giant Stadium back in the old days, here at Citi Field, where the delicacy of the music was sometimes amazing. They could bring the thing down to a Stella Blue or to a very delicate space. And those were some of the times I admired the Grateful Dead and subsequent bands the most, when they were not just playing to the far bleachers, but really pulling the audience in with nuance and all that. This is a strange experience for me because we are about 10 or 15 minutes from my home. The show is happening. It would usually be inconceivable for me not to be at a show at Citi Field, as Wallace Shawn said in The Princess Bride. Inconceivable. But the fact is, I'm doing this instead because the COVID protocols and everything make it kind of impractical to try to do a live feed from the venue. So this will be a little surreal for me. They are playing really on hallowed ground because right next door to Citi Field was Shea Stadium, site of several life-altering experiences in my life. Of course, the 1969 Miracle Mets, but even more so, in 1966, I saw the Beatles there. And
Wow.
so that means a lot to me. And then just down the way, just a short walk across the old New York World's Fairgrounds, was a place called the New York State Pavilion, which turned into a rock venue. And I saw 2 life-altering Grateful Dead shows there back in 1969, just when I was really taking the plunge from which I have not yet returned into Deadheadism. So that area means a lot to me. The Dead's relationship with New York has been absolutely intertwined with my own experience. It's where I first encountered the band. It's where I saw a whole bunch of my first shows before I moved out to California. About about 6 or 7 years worth of shows before I moved out west. So I accumulated a lot of Grateful Dead shows at Fillmore East, the Capitol Theater in Portchester, various venues around the area. And like I said, the band and that city have always had a really special relationship, and it has continued through to Dead and Company, playing at Madison Square Garden, playing various other venues in the area, and at Citi Field. The last time they played there, you might recall, I think it was the last time, John Mayer came on stage with Jerry Garcia's Wolf guitar, and they opened that show with St. Stephen, and you've seldom heard a place go quite that nuts. And the rest of the show,
Wow.
yeah, it was pretty damn impressive. And given the way the band has played in these first two shows, I think they're going to bring it tonight. We are doing what's called in the trade vamping, by the way, because we are never sure exactly when the band is going to get on stage. We understand that they are taking a little longer to make sure that people are getting into the venue in as timely a fashion as possible, since they are checking for vaccination proof and things like that.
Right.
And that may be a cumbersome process. They are encouraging people to show up early. I think they're opening the gates a little earlier than they might for other shows, and we hope they can make that happen smoothly. I think the band is almost ready to go, but in the meantime, we'll be here with you. And once again, telling you that we'll be back at halftime. We are having special guests on for every broadcast. Tonight, we're going to talk about the Rex Foundation a whole lot, a cause we are hugely supportive of. Of course, it got its birth in the Grateful Dead, and we'll be talking a lot about their good works. And we'll be speaking with Cameron Sears, executive director of the Rex Foundation, a longtime associate of the band, and we look forward to that. And we, of course, encourage you to support the Rex Foundation in any way you can, either through donation or volunteerism. That's part of the concept of participation row at the shows. If you go to a show, there's this area that is a little home to nonprofits, especially the Rex Foundation and Headcount, but local ones in each town they go to as well. And you can go help out, volunteer, sign documents pledging your help. And it's a really wonderful experience, and it underscores the spirit of community that has always surrounded the Grateful Dead and the DeadHead. So we encourage that mightily.
And we should talk a little bit about the music too. Having seen two shows already on this tour, I really feel like the band hit the ground running. They clearly were prepared for this, and they were all in the mood to play. And we've just heard, it's just been great. The sound is terrific. The mix is great. We should also mention to people that are looking at this free sample that the live stream on Nugs is available in 4K this year for the first time, for those who have the super high-end visuals, and it's in HD for everybody else anyway. And as Gary said, we're going to do this little live schmoozing thing in between sets. And what else can we tell you?
Well,
SiriusXM is go ahead.
All right. No, yeah, mention that. That's a good thing to point out. Go ahead.
Yeah. SiriusXM is offering a VIP Platinum subscription that includes all of SiriusXM plus a selection of Nugs.net's catalog. And Nugs has been archiving and distributing live music performances for many, many years now, and their lineup is huge. So they got this huge Bruce Springsteen archive. They've got Pearl Jam. They've got. Do they have Fish too, or is that a separate entity?
They've got Fish.
Fish is
they've got some Wilco, another of my favorite bands. It's a really impressive lineup of stuff, and a little something for every taste. And they've got stuff from festivals. We're told the house lights are down, so it's time to go. That wasn't too bad, was it? We'll see you at the break.
Hello.
Here we are.
Why you always look so surprised? You know it's going to be me.
Yeah, I know it's going to be you. I just in suspense over exactly which moment it's going to be us. Because we have to get everything in place and throw all the right switches and all that. And here we are for what is being called Dead Air with Lambert and Gans. I'm Lambert, he's Gans. But this is really the antidote to Dead Air, because otherwise you'd just be staring at a screen that says, please stand by or please stay tuned. But we are going to give you some, we hope, entertaining content in between the sets of each of these shows on the tour. And that was a fine first set yet again.
Let's begin by running down the list. They open with Good Times, and I do believe that's the first time for this band, right? Yes. Bertha, Good Lovin', Big Railroad Blues, Ramble on Rose, They Love Each Other, and Cassidy and Casey Jones. That's a hell of a first set, kids.
Yeah, and I love, little touch. I love how they did a little mashup of the Pigpen era intro to Good Lovin', but the more laid back Bobby arrangement of the song. And the coda of They Love Each Other has just become this epic song unto itself. And extra style points to John Mayer for the twang bar artistry on that one.
Yes.
Like that a lot. So we'll be talking to you for a while. This, by the way, is the 7th time that Dead and Company have played Citi Field, and I'm watching it from 7 exits up the Grand Central Parkway. So read whatever numerological significance into that you want. Anyway.
I'm sorry you can't be at the show for a variety of reasons, but hey, we've got a few minutes here to spend with you, and we wanted to tell you about some very interesting stuff that's coming up. Gary, you want to introduce our first guest?
Sure. In just a moment, we're going to talk to Cameron Sears about the Rex Foundation and, of course, all of its great wide-ranging work. But this is really appropriate to the conversation because one of the great areas of focus and concern in the Grateful Dead's charitable work and the work of the Rex Foundation is preservation and protection of the environment, and specifically of the world's rainforests. And that points us right to something really cool that's going to happen in the second set tonight. And it relates to something that first happened 30 years ago. That was the release of an amazing album, which Mickey Hart helped curate, called Voices of the Rainforest. And here to talk about it is someone else who was integral to that project, one of the world's preeminent anthropologists and ethnomusicologists. Please welcome Dr. Stephen Feld.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
So tell us about Voices of the Rainforest. This was a groundbreaking recording in its time.
Yes, it was. Mickey had the idea to produce the first record that would consist not just of indigenous music, but also equally the sounds of the environment. So we put together in 1 hour 24 sounds of the environment of the rainforest in Papua New Guinea, and all the way the indigenous people there sing to it and with it and about it. And that was Voices of the Rainforest, and ambient music and world music had never been combined like that before. So Voices of the Rainforest made a big splash, and it's continued in many forms over the years, developing this project with Mickey.
Indeed. And we have a voice of nature there in the background there, a yapping dog, which we always love hearing. But anyway, yeah, I was fortunate enough to be involved a little in the promotion of Voices of the Rainforest, and just an extraordinary learning experience for me to learn of the way preservation of the rainforest is also the preservation of cultures, of whole indigenous populations. When rainforests are threatened, so are the people who live there, and so are a lot of customs and traditions. So this became really a beginning of a body of work that Mickey has been working on for a long time, putting out world music recordings of endangered populations, and it's been a tremendous thing.
I wish we had more time to talk about it tonight. We should get you onto our other program, Tales from the Golden Road, where we'll have a more expansive opportunity to hear more about it. But you recorded a lot of this stuff yourself, right?
Yes, I did the research in the rainforest about the way in which people derive their scales and their ways of singing from listening to birds, derive their percussion and their rhythms from their love of the trees and knowledge of the environment. And the whole purpose of this project was to really go beyond nature and culture and take us into the realm of sound as a whole way of knowing the world, which has been a big theme for Mickey in his work on the Tao of Wood, and a big theme for him in many of his other projects. He's also a great wood lover, as am I. And for the 25th anniversary of Voices of the Rainforest, we had the idea to go back to the original analog tapes, digitize everything, and recompose a completely new Voices of the Rainforest in 7.1 surround sound. And we did that at Lucas's Skywalker Sound with Dennis Wiz Leonard, who's well known to you guys and to everybody in Dead World. And Wiz and I worked together for a year to make this 7.1 sound piece, and it was successful. And as a result of that, we made a film to go with it. So now we have a project where you can Let's see if you can see that there. We have a,
Hold it up in front of your
book.
face. The way it's propped, we can't see it. There we
Oh,
go.
there you go.
Okay, so it's called Voices of the Rainforest. It's a book. It's got the new CD. It's got the Blu-ray disc with the 70-minute film. It's got an introduction by Mickey talking about the history of the project and lots of pictures of the rainforest. And this project has been supported at various stages by the Rex Foundation. We've partnered in lots of different ways. I'm delighted to be on the show tonight together with Cameron and featuring the work of the Rex Foundation, because they've done so many extraordinary things in the world of rainforest work.
Oh, very true. Thank you so much for being here.
And we just want to alert people that something really wonderful related to this is going to happen during Drums in Space tonight. And we don't want to spoil the surprise. We want to let you experience it for yourself out there. But we will also tell you that if you want to know more about all this, you can go to Mickey Hart's website, mickeyhart.net/Voices of the Rainforest. And there's a whole lot of background on this and information about this new deluxe re-release with the book and CD and Blu-ray disc. So, Stephen, we have to move on, but it's been great having you here. Once again, as David said, we will have you on our show to discuss this at greater length, but it's been a pleasure having you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes, thank
great
you.
to see you. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it,
All
Stephen.
right.
Before we introduce Cameron, I have to remind people that what we're doing here is offering, among other things, a free preview of the Dead & Company live streams on nugs.net. And if you're watching this on YouTube, and you're going to get the first song of the second set for free as well. The idea is to convert you to a buyer and to get you to buy the show. And if you buy the show now, they wanted me to let you know that you can watch the first set later. You have like 48 hours to watch the show. So you didn't necessarily miss anything. You just might have missed it in almost real time. And also remind you that the streams are available in 4K if you have the equipment to receive it.
Right. So without any further ado, let's bring on a good friend of ours, a longtime associate of the Grateful Dead, and executive director of one of our favorite causes in the world, the Rex Foundation, Cameron Sears. Cameron.
Hi,
Hey,
Cameron.
guys, how are you?
Good.
Welcome
Live
aboard.
from Massachusetts.
All the way.
Yes. So, Cameron, you know, a lot of people out there probably know about the Rex Foundation, its origins in the Grateful Dead family. But one of the most amazing things about the Rex Foundation is it survived the touring career of the Grateful Dead by more than a quarter of a century and continues to thrive and perform the same service.
Well, that's very true, Gary. Thanks for having me on tonight. You know, we were talking about this recently at one of our board meetings that in reality, you know, Rex was founded in 1984 and worked with the band closely. It was solely supported by the band until Jerry's passing. And you know, that was 10 years, 11 years, and it's been 25 years since that day. So it's a testament to the strength of the community and the strength of the vision, really, that we have persevered and continue to grow and continue to fund the kinds of projects that Rex set out to fund from its onset. So we're very pleased with our interaction with the audience, with the band, and just all the great things that we've been able to achieve in this now almost 35 years of existence. More, isn't it? 37 maybe?
Yeah.
Congratulations on a very successful Days Between celebration. That was a multi-day thing you put on there.
Yeah, wasn't that a hoot? I mean, you know, again, one of the fascinating parts of it for me is we're drawing in artists that are doing Grateful Dead music in new and different ways. I don't know, you know, if you caught Michaela Davis, for instance, doing her thing with the harp, you know, beautifully and rendering the songs in a completely new dynamic way and being true to the vision of the song too. It's remarkable. And there's many people like her. I mean, Billy Strings has been a great friend, and his interpretations of the music are, you know, stellar. And just being able to capture the renaissance, if you will, of Grateful Dead music in the general population is just, it's staggering. I mean, I remember we would talk about it. We never could imagine that day where this would actually happen, because we thought the music was just beyond that that approach, really. And now to come to find out that it's everywhere. So
Well, we
Yeah,
that's pretty
knew
cool.
it's going to outlive the guys who invented it, and we're seeing that. And really, that's like the perfect pivot for the Rex Foundation. The Grateful Dead did these benefits and just raised huge amounts of money, and now you have to find it from a lot of smaller sources instead, which has brought an entire national network of musicians and volunteers together. So in a way, the loss of the Grateful Dead has led to an improved and greater sense of national community among all these people.
Yeah, I think that's really true. I really do. And it's very gratifying that, that the strength of the music also binds the community in a way to promote the vision of that same community in a very positive way. I think the Grateful Dead notion had a very strong sense of giving back from its very onset. I mean, we don't have to go through the history books to know that their first concert was a benefit for the meme troupe in
That's
San
right.
Francisco. And
Right.
from the very beginning, that community in Haight-Ashbury surrounded itself with people that they wanted to support. And they continued to do that, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And really, the Rex Foundation was started in large part because rather than choose individual things to focus an entire benefit towards, they thought maybe we should just bring all the money in here and we can be the arbiters, and we can help now over 1,300 organizations as opposed to
Wow.
one to a benefit. And our big push this year is we're about $300,000 shy of having given away $10 million. So our
Wow. Let's
goal
make
for
that
the
happen.
next, yeah, I mean, our next push is to really try and raise that $300,000, give it away, and then we can all, that's quite an achievement. And bearing in mind that these grants that we give are in modest increments of no more than $10,000, but we know that these organizations are in their kind of infancy, and they're close to the ground, making a big difference in their communities. And we look to those people to be really what I like to refer to as agents of change. They're right there on the ground doing the heavy lifting, and every dollar of every grant that we give, we know is going to a high purpose.
yeah,
That's
and
great.
one thing I think that Rex did in the past year and a half that I was very, very proud of was they reached out to people in the music community who were so terribly impacted by the pandemic, whose livelihoods were just sucked away. And there's something
Yes.
called the Rex Roadie Fund, which is to help out,
That's right.
behind the scenes workers in the music business who were without work for so long.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, it wasn't lost on any of us that the Rex Foundation was named after one of the most notable roadies, and there were many notable roadies in the Grateful Dead history.
Yeah.
But Rex Jackson was large in that group, and his untimely death caused them to want to name something significant after him. And the Rex Foundation was a natural choice. But fast forward to today, how could we not respect that legacy and respect the work of the people that make the shows possible? I mean, I've been on the road for a long, long time with the band, and you see what these guys go through day in and day out, and we're all part of it together. And no show happens without them, period. So, it
So
wasn't a
true.
hard call for us, really.
Yeah, there is such a through line from the very first Grateful Dead roadies like Ramrod and Rex through to our dear departed friend Chris Sharuki and AJ and the people who are working on these shows. It's and
Absolutely.
there's an amazing sense of kinship between all these people.
That's right. And there's something too in that kinship that lines up with Grateful Dead too, because we didn't always do things by the book. We all know that, and for good reason. And elaborate thought went into significant aspects of how these instruments were going to be heard, what the sound space was going to be, how that got communicated to the audience, because that was the most important thing for us, is to make sure that audio path to the ears of the audience was as pure and as powerful as it could be.
Yeah,
We're talking
and the
with
dead.
Cameron Sears. If his face isn't familiar, his name should be, and he's the executive director of the Rex Foundation for many years. And you can find out more about the Rex Foundation at rexfoundation.org. And I would recommend you take a look. They have given a lot of money to a lot of really, really deserving organizations, and you can learn about the work of the beneficiaries on the website as well. And there are ways for you to contribute both money and time and your love to support the causes that the Rex Foundation supports.
Yeah.
So David,
And
you
I'm going
brought
to
up a good point. If I'm not interrupting you, Gary, I'm sorry. But
It's okay.
on this
It's okay. It's
last
the
days
time lag.
this last days between event, we actually had a portion of it devoted to what we were calling days of service. So we had maybe 11 different places around the country where people who were familiar with Rex and wanted to contribute and volunteer. We lined them up with these different organizations that were doing different things all over the place, and that's as equally gratifying to us in terms of making that change possible, contributing to making the world a better place. If it doesn't matter if you don't have the money to make a $10 donation or a $100 donation, if you have the time, there's other ways that you can impact positive social change on the planet, and Lord knows we can use it every single day.
Yeah,
So true.
it starts locally. You know, it can start in your own community rather than thinking of. And one of the great services of Rex is that they do focus on those charities that often fall between the cracks that, you know, the big organizations, you know, cover. You know, so that's always been a wonderful thing to me. And you know, I'm really looking forward to reaching that 10 million goal. I think it's doable on this tour. If people go to Participation Row at each of the concerts and kick a little in or volunteer or help to promote Rex among their peer group, peer pressure works so well in the Grateful Dead world, don't you think? So if
everybody who's watching this right now could just click on over to rexfoundation.org and make a donation while it's fresh in your mind.
Right.
And we would be very grateful for it too. No pun intended.
Right. Indeed.
I think we've got a couple minutes left here. Go ahead, Gary.
Well,
yeah, I was just going to say the very same thing.
I could tell you about an interesting project that we're working on right now that's kind of cool. I think would resonate with the audience. You know, a few years ago, we started making some grants up on the Pine Ridge Reservation, and we were kind of tuned into that through other friends. I think a lot of the audience might be aware of Conscious Alliance, who's done a lot of food drives and done a lot of good work up on Pine Ridge specifically, but in other places too. And through that work, we got in touch with some elders on the res, and we funded a project where there was young Native American youth, mostly boys, and they were being taught how to make hand drums. And then that evolved into them learning the skill and then preserving the traditions and the language, and at the same time being able to have something that they could sell at the trading post as a way of earning a living. So that was a really cool story, right? So now it has evolved to now we're putting up individual little studios is what we're working towards, where, you know, we sent money to Kenya in a refugee camp there with one mic, some simple recording equipment, and they could then communicate to the world from this refugee camp.
Wow, that's
so
great.
now we're looking at doing it at Pine Ridge and a permaculture community center. And we're looking at other places where we can connect Indigenous people, because Stephen was talking about Indigenous people, music, preservation of Indigenous culture, which we do take very seriously. And we're trying to find ways that with a modest grant, a microphone, a computer, recording technology, you can do podcasts, you can record music, can record the stories of the elders, you can communicate with the youth amongst each other, and in between all these different reservations and cultures. We'll see where it goes, but we're pretty excited about it.
That is
Yeah,
a
love it.
really, really wonderful thing. And that's one of those things where the cost of the technology has come down so much that you can do a lot of those in a lot of different places. Listen, we have to stop. Where the band is about to take the stage, so we have to wrap this up.
How rude of them.
Well,
I'm
thank
so
you very
sorry.
much. I was never able to make the breaks that short when I was getting them on stage. So congratulations to whoever's doing that, you know.
You gave it your best shot, man. This is
Yeah.
I
Cameron Sears,
tried.
the executive director of the Rex Foundation, everybody. They've done amazing work for humanity for 37 years, 37 years now, and they deserve your attention and your support and your help as well. So please visit rexfoundation.org when you get a chance. Take a look at some of the wonderful things they've done in the world and find a way for yourself to contribute as well.
Right. Cameron, so great to see you as always. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll be talking again soon, I'm sure.
I hope so. Thanks, guys. Have a good show.
All right. Bye-bye.
Well,
Take care.
now we still have a couple of seconds, I guess, before the band comes back. So we should pitch the nugs.net business, shouldn't we?
Indeed.
If you should know, this doesn't really help those of you who are couch touring, but if you buy a ticket to a Dead and Company show, you automatically get a free recording of the show, and you can scan your ticket at nugs.net. So keep that in mind for future opportunities, because if you ever buy a ticket to Dead and Company, you get a recording in the deal. And we also wanted to mention this is a free preview of the beginning of set 2. And if you convert yourself into a customer and buy the feed, you still have access to the first set in case you missed it, and you can watch it after the fact. I think there's 48 hours to watch it.
Yeah, indeed. And it is looking great. It is sounding great. Hats off to Derek Featherstone, as always, for the live mix, and to the band for playing so pretty. And we are told they are almost all on stage, but that's always a crapshoot, but an enjoyable one. Get on there, you stragglers. We are having so much fun doing this. This is our third show of the tour. By the way, I won't be here tomorrow night because I'm fulfilling a commitment that I made before the pandemic started. That's how long I've had this commitment for the 21st. So,
Wow.
so it's a personal thing. I'm going to keep it. But David's going to be holding down the fort completely, comprehensively, and authoritatively as only he can. He'll have a special guest on with him. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then I get to watch the show after I come home. So the magic of nugs.net.
All right. So we're still vamping here, buddy, because we have not been given a signal that the band is ready to talk. So we have to keep talking.
That's okay. You know, what else can we talk about that first set? Oh, just there's always a Jeff Comenti moment that knocks me out. The solo on Ramble on Rose had these beautiful, like almost stride piano jazz, little octave jumps to them.
And he also had a really interesting thing going on in Good Lovin'. He had a certain kind of musical, or maybe it wasn't Good Lovin'. It all kind of blurs together now, but he had a really interesting musical tone coming out of his synthesizer behind Bobby's singing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not unusual. He always has an interesting tone coming out of something.
Yeah, and O'Teal draws on his frame of reference, which isn't standard Grateful Dead stuff all the time. He pulls in bits from old jazz records and old soul records, and I love the way that this music keeps refreshing and renewing itself. And as we talked about with Cameron, with the Rex Foundation, there's this constant process of reinvention and handing the music down and passing it on. And Dead and Company is exemplary of that. As is Billy and the Kids, by the way. I wanted to mention that part of the Days Between programming, they showed a little reprise of the Grateful Mahalo show that Billy did a while back from his home in Kauai. And he's part of that process too. He's drawn the youngsters into the tent, Tommy Hamilton and Billy Strings and help me out, Reed Mathis and
Aaron Magner.
Aaron Magner and James Casey on saxophone. And so, they're learning from a master like Bill, and they're also maybe teaching Bill some new tricks. They're revitalizing the music for him. So that's what all this is about. The music is an ongoing experiment. The idea of the Grateful Dead remains alive 26 years after there was a touring Grateful Dead. And that's an incredibly inspiring thing, I think, for all of us.
Very much so. Getting back to plugging nugs.net, which is who's feeding this out into the world, we wanted to mention, too, that nugs.net offers subscriptions now, and you can get access to every Dead and Company show going back to 2016, and 25,000 other performances from artists like Fish, the Jerry Garcia Band, the Rolling Stones, The Who, Santana, Bruce Springsteen, and me. I have a few songs up there on Nugs. It's a very democratic service. It goes all the way from the top down to grassroots guys like me. So it's fun to be part of all that. But it's really a terrific thing in this live music-oriented culture where we'd rather listen to a concert tape than a studio album. Nugs.net seems like a great place to go crazy.
It really is. I feast on it all the time. I have the streaming subscription. I go back and check out Dead and Company shows from various tours. Of course, I'm all over the Wilco stuff and all over the Bruce Springsteen stuff. And yeah, it's a wonderful resource. Plus, you can do things like subscribe to this entire tour, or you can buy individual shows. And it's going to make your summer and into the autumn a very pleasant experience, I have a feeling, from these shows so far.
It seems like it, man. They're off to a kick-ass start, I have to say. I've thoroughly enjoyed all the 5 sets we've heard so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing where they go with it. I have to feel like the work that these guys are doing outside this context has been feeding their musicality here. I mean, what Bob's doing with Wolf Bros is also amazing. We talked with Don Was the other night a little bit about that. But the fact that Billy's got such a great band going and Weir's got such a great band going on the side is pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, and of course, Mickey's got a million projects going on at all times, and he always brings something back to the mothership with him, you know, whether it's new developments on the beam and the drone. And let's remind you again, there's going to be something very special relating to Voices of the Rainforest in the second set. And I'm really looking forward to this because I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it is intertwined with this new audio-visual re-realization of Voices of the Rainforest. Yeah.
And Mickey's, we should also mention Mickey's sonic bathing thing with Zakir, right? If you go to mickeyhart.net, look at the Voices of the Rainforest thing, but also look at this other, is that what it's called? Drones for Sonic Bathing? Is that what?
Yeah. Sound Consciousness, subtitled Drones for Sonic Bathing. Yes. And it's very meditative, deep, you know, alpha wave generating music that you'll feel in your bones and you'll feel up and down the chakras. I've really been enjoying it. And there's also a visual component. They've done some beautiful visuals based on Mickey's own artwork.
It's fascinating. Mickey is a man of many contradictions. He's one of the most high energy human beings we have ever known, and also a master of this peaceful, meditative sonic bath kind of stuff. He contains multitudes.
He can bring you serenity now.
Oh God, please, man, go back to work.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. I have seen, there's always online chatter, and everybody's got an opinion. I've looked at some of the comments on our halftime show over the past couple of nights, and they say, "Why are these guys talking? Why doesn't the band come on?" It's like we're keeping the band from coming on. Au contraire.
No.
It's the other way around. We stop talking when the band tells us we can by getting back on the stage. So, we plead not guilty.
This is a sort of a Scheherazade situation. All right, the house lights are down. We're leaving. Back to work.
Enjoy the second set. I just said enjoy the second set.